Uh, and with me having completed this movie, I only have either two or three Argento movies left. Those are Giallo from 2005, 2009, The Mother of Tears, and Dracula 3D. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. But yes, in case you're wondering which one I just completed, Inferno from 1980. This is part of a double pack. Dario Argento Collection Volume 1. Experience a double dose of one of a kind horror, with two classic films written and directed by the Italian maestro. Inferno is a surreal shocker of international evil, considered to be the sequel to the legendary Suspiria and Phenomena, obviously. This is uncut and uncensored for the first time ever in America. This this is actually a really freaking good movie overall. It was initially panned at time of release, but now it's like people look at it like, yes, this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see the master still in a dang good form, actually being like, okay, how could we possibly top Suspiria? You can't. So instead, let's just have, instead of being confined to a boarding school or a little bit of Germany or whatever, let's have it take place in New York. Yes. The sets here are as great as ever. I mean, the library itself, she's where we have our heroine reading about the three mothers, is beautiful. It's big, it's spacious, and it feels like you're just stepping back in time a couple hundred years, but there's light. And with these light, and yeah, um, we have a woman who's attending this library named Rose Elliott, who is reading about it, discovers the three witches, and goes on a quest to find out what's going on with them. So, yeah, she does a little digging, and she's like, hey, you need some three keys or whatever. So, as she's going by like an antique dealer, drops one of the keys in a sewer, so she has to go down and rescue. We get a very great swimming sequence. I mean, it's like just the way how it's shot alone, just how it looks so, like, the water isn't exactly dirty, but just how she's swimming, it's just so elegant anyway. Really, not even that much nudity. You can get to see the outline of her breasts, but maybe the nipples. But that's about it. Like, I don't know, it just works so well. How there's just this like flooded area, just wow. Yeah, but then of course, eventually some activity starts arising as we wonder what's going on. Oh, she sends a letter to her brother Mark, and he has to figure out, like, hey, what's going on? Like, why is my sister sending this? What are some of the clues that she's talking about? So he goes around and starts investigating. He talks to the antiques dealer. He talks to this older professor, and he talks to the person who's taking care of the professor. The professor's mute and never really explaining why, but whatever. So, but everything here just looks so just let's see, yeah. Eventually, they start putting all the puzzle pieces together, and it's like it's just this is all the makings of a giallo. But some people that you either love or you don't like, because it's just a whiplash of stuff happening with a bunch of eliminations and sequences and just oddities that just make you wonder, what is this? And then you realize, oh, this is Italian style horror, where it's all style over substance. And eventually our hero with the bad mustache, it looks like a boomerang, manages to get himself down. We get an interesting sequence of him removing flooring and everything. I'm just looking at, like, we're just looking at 5 minutes of him removing flooring, but somehow it works. I don't know why. And we get to hear the amazing song Mater Tenebranium or something like that. As he goes through this great set, finally gets down, we eventually meet the second mother herself. She is the personification of death, the cruelest and probably the most beautiful of the three. And it's like, oh, she's going to have a moment here. It's like, yeah, we get the professor, the guy who said he was nothing more than a mere slave, but uses a device similar to what Fives used which I'm like using the an amplifier or whatever. That was a nice reference there. And well, eventually we get to her. We get to see her in death, but then she gets trampled 5 minutes later by debris. Huh? It, that just felt so pathetic, I guess, or pathetic. Bathetic. Accidentally anticlimactic or anticlimactic in general. Just uh, whatever. I don't know. Oh yeah. So overall, the story just goes all around. And eventually at the end, you just realize, well, it could have been a lot worse. I guess. I don't know. Just whatever. So yeah, despite the twisting story, this is really a great scene. Great movie. Particularly interesting scenes are about, I don't know, roughly an hour and 15 minutes, and there's the antiques guy, Kazanian or whatever, brings a whole bunch of cats with him into a pond. Yeah, arguably the most famous scene in the movie. I was like, here he is in the pond, has the cats inside the bag, is tied up, drowns the cats. Yikes. And then lo and behold, here comes this butcher or something. He's like coming out to like supposedly help him because the asshole is a because the asshole there is going to be eaten by rats. Instead, the butcher comes in and chops him alive, and it's just like, I was not expecting that. Holy smokes! So yeah, he got what he deserved. Don't worry, those weren't real cats. That was a bag with mechanical rats inside it. So yeah, it was a disturbing sight. The way how he uses a crutch to push down the bag. It's just like, what the hell, you know? Yeah, obviously some of the deaths going on, particularly with Rose. But yes, I'm spoiling a 45-year-old movie. No, yeah, way how she kind of almost gets guillotined to death. It was just oof, because like she's getting closer and closer to figuring out, and then here comes the caretaker for the old man. We get to see her like claw her claws and everything, and she gets decapitated in a rather interesting fashion. Holy smokes! Yeah. And obviously at the end when he's going through, and then we hear the song performed by Keith Emerson of Emerson, Lake and Palmer and orchestra. Absolutely amazing to hear. That scene, I don't know, it just worked for me. Whatever it was. Yeah, stylistically it's beautiful here. The colors work so well. You know, you get all the blues, you get the building where everything's happening. It just looks stunning to look at. It's resplendent, rich in color. Like, it just stands out, and obviously it does. I mean, you have the master of like color here, also combined with the Gothic master himself, Mario Bava. Yes, this was a joint production between the two. This was be Bava's last film whilst he was alive, and I could tell, based on like the cameras and where they're zooming over certain objects and like the first-person views and just the hallways and stuff like that, and the lighting. Yeah, you could tell like kind of which scenes are Bava's and Argento's, because Argento contracted hepatitis, so that made him feel sick, and he was in a hospital. Had to do some of the stuff lying down. Yikes! So that was definitely a painful experience for him. So you can just imagine that. He said this is his least favorite movie to shoot, and as a note, he also disowned the Cat O' Nine Tails, which I can see why. But this one, it was obviously the production. This was up at what was that, $3 million or something like that back then. So that'd be like 10 million today. And, they put it to great use, especially just during the swimming scene. What was her name? Irene Miracle. Seriously, that was her name. Does a pretty dang good job there. But yeah, some people may not like, all the twists and turns and everything else going on, where you're just wondering what is like this. The plot is just so confusing, which I will admit Ed did have a little confused, and just the anticlimactic fight. I'm just like, what is this? Can we at least get something that's like 2 out of 3 sisters that barely would put up a fight in like 30 seconds? That's all I ask. Ugh. And then, there's a tonal shift suddenly as, like Rose gets decapitated. Now Mark comes in, so it was like, well, okay then. I was not expecting that, but hey, You know, you look at the you're here for the colors, you're here for the stylistic choice, you're here for the environment. This is a movie that is definitely style, but you know, the style can also be the substance, or it could not be. So make of that what you will. But yeah, definitely Inferno. Oh yeah, music in here is good too. Music is great. So yeah, if you want to see definitely a freaking great movie, I recommend that you watch Inferno from 1980.